Hey guys, welcome back to the second video of the night. So this one's going to be the more niche one. I'm going to be talking about the mid-ranges. I'm going to be assessing them all, whether I think you should sell or hold them this week. And then I'm going to be talking about trading, like my sort of fundamental list of what using a trade looks like, what delaying a trade looks like, and what saving a trade looks like. So that's how I assess my trades. It's not for everyone to follow, but it's just you guys have called out saying you want the more niche videos. I asked on the weekend what video ideas you like, what you don't see from other content creators potentially, and yeah, a lot of you guys said you wanted the niche stuff. I wasn't sure how that would go when I first started the channel about a month ago, but there's clearly an appetite for it. And yeah, the video I uploaded yesterday was my best video across the first 24 hours. So yeah, I can see that you guys like that sort of stuff. If you want to see more of it, please consider subscribing. You guys have been crushing it the last couple of days. I know we're going to have a few new guys in the video today, just because I'm going to post this in an NRL fantasy group, which I don't do too often, maybe once a week or so. So yeah, please consider subscribing if you do like this sort of video. But yeah, I'll get into it. So I've got a bit of a Word document here. So it starts off with my trade glossary. So yeah, like I mentioned, using versus delaying versus saving a trade. So a lot of people view a trade as just using one, like whether you're going to use a trade this week or save a trade. Yeah, I actually have delaying a trade in my thought process as well. So it should make a little bit of sense, but yeah, an example of using a trade. So currently you have Yo. You trade him for Smithies in round 12 due to his favourable buy schedule and increased roll. You then trade Smithies to Yo in round 18. So you make two trades there. Yo out for Smithies, Smithies out for Yo. So yeah, that one's pretty clear. Like you've clearly used two trades there. You've traded out a keeper to a mid-range for your buy schedule. Totally fine. Smithies was a good option. And you've made that trade when Smithies has peaked after round 18, you trade him back to Yo. So yeah, that's a pretty clear example of how you've used two trades. I don't really need to go in depth of that one. Then example of saving a trade using the same two players. You have Yo, you like Smithies as an option in round 12 due to the same reasons, but you decide not to pull the trigger because you know you need Yo back eventually and you don't want to use two trades on that. So yeah, you saved two trades essentially because you could have done scenario A where you got a favourable buy schedule guy by trading out a keeper and then brought that keeper back in because you need him for the end of the season. So yeah, that's a pretty clear example of how you've saved two trades there. That's how most people view trading, which is fair enough. That is as clear as day. But then I also like to think about delaying a trade. So let's say, for example, it's a little bit of a different scenario because I didn't want to use a keeper in this scenario. But yeah, you have Hubner, who's a mid-ranger. You're not going to have him towards the end of the season. And you kept him for round 15 for his buy round score. And yeah, maybe he hasn't peaked in price or something. It's currently round 16, so use your wildest imaginations. We've gone 3 weeks into the future. It's round 16 and you're concerned to trade him since you only have 10 trades left in the bank. So you save your trade by not trading him out for, let's say, Toby Couchman. You then trade Hubner for Toby Couchman in round 18 as Hubner is not a keeper, clearly. You've just delayed a trade. So a lot of people after that video yesterday that I uploaded, I prefaced I wasn't trying to scare you if you don't have that many trades left. I think the average is 13.4 in the top 1,000. And I just talked about how I think that is way too little trades at the moment. I currently have 19 trades. I think that's more of a benchmark and I'm pretty satisfied with that. But yeah, a lot of people are low on trades. So I got a lot of comments yesterday saying, oh, should I not trade out Tamale, for example, because I only have 13 trades now. Well, you're not saving a trade by not trading Somale this week. You need to trade him out eventually because he's a mid-ranger. You don't want him in the end-of-season team. So if you do that in round 15 as opposed to round 13, you're not actually saving a trade there. You're just delaying it by 2 weeks. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, so yeah, you're just not saving it. You are delaying the inevitable. You cannot get to the end of the season with Tamale or Hubner or any of these mid-range guys. So it doesn't actually matter from a trading perspective what round you do it. If you do it now, round 15, round 18, either way you are forced into making a trade for him. So it doesn't matter which round, you're just delaying the inevitable. So yeah, it's not saving a trade, which a lot of people do think, and I understand why you would think that, but no, that is a forced trade you're going to be made. So it doesn't matter when you do it, you're just delaying the inevitable. So that's how I like to look at it. So as a full season example, let's say you have 20 trades now. I'm just using block examples like 20 and 10 make life a bit easier. I know it's a lot more than people have at the moment. Yeah, let's say you have 20 trades and 10 end-of-season keepers in your current team. You want to get to 19 keepers by the end of the season. Monetary value aside, like obviously you can't trade a Hubner up to a Yo straight up if you don't have any cash in the bank. But yeah, monetary value aside, that's 9 non-negotiable trades you must use to get to your ideal team. I talked about it in yesterday's video. So this is going to make a lot more sense if you actually watched yesterday's video. So if you haven't, it should still make sense. But I talked about a lot of these things in that video, so they sort of link together. Yeah, I said you probably want to get to 18 or 19 end of season keepers by round 27 or whatever, because you want to have 1 or 2 guys who aren't playing week to week, but their injury coverage if someone is injured. So obviously only 17 can score, but you need 18 or 19 for that coverage. So yeah, you need 9 trades to get up to that mark of 19 keepers, since you only have 10 now. So even though you have 20 trades in the bank currently, and obviously you're getting 8 in round 20, but just ignore that. You have 20 trades currently, but you need to use 9 of them to get to your end of season team. So you actually only have 11 trades currently. Even though on paper you have 20 trades, you know you need 9 at a minimum to get up to your ideal team. And that's monetary value aside. So I also talked about it yesterday that most of these trades, like trying to get in, if you traded out Yo, Cleary, Haas, it's more than likely going to take 2 trades to get up to them because they're so much more expensive than any other players in the game. So yeah, if you could do straight swaps, that's 9 trades that you have to use, that you're forced into to get to your ideal team by the end of the season. So yeah, you really only have 11 trades left. So it's impossible to save those trades. So you have 10 keepers in your team, which means there's 11 guys that you need to trade out, which is the rest of your trades left. So you have 20 currently, 9 are going into making your end of season team, assuming you can get there money-wise, which is impossible. So then you actually have to trade all 11 of your other guys at some point, unless you have 2 guys like Hopway that are cash outs, which is way too early to do that. But yeah, the 11 guys that aren't keepers in your team, at some point you're going to have to trade them out, whether they're cash cows, mid-rangers. Yeah, so you're not saving trades by keeping them in your team for now. Obviously, a lot of them are buy-round coverage guys, and they have, or cash cows that haven't peaked, like King Tonga and stuff like that. But yeah, like you're going to have to trade them eventually. So even if you only have 12, 13 trades in round 13 that we're in now, it doesn't matter if you use 3 or 4 this week versus using 1 and then having to make those trades later. Obviously, you want to time it when there's keepers available, potentially underpriced keepers or guys that are favorable for your buy schedule and stuff. But yeah, like you're not saving your trades by not trading them this week. So yeah, if you have guys on the board this week, like keepers that you want to buy, like Kaloa Matangi, Aitken, Jaden Campbell, if you can get there trading your mid-ranges, then by all means go for it, even if your trade count is low, because yeah, you're not saving trades by not doing that. I hope that makes sense. I know like it's hard to explain in 9 minutes. I know I've repeated myself a little bit there, trying to get the point across. But yeah, if I haven't made that clear enough, just feel free to leave a comment in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you. I try to get back to most people. Obviously, with a small channel, it's a bit easier. So yeah, just feel free to ask any questions down below. So then, so that's all for that section. Then we move on to when to move on from your peaking mids and cash cows. So just some considerations I like to think about when I believe it's time to trade them. And then I've got a little table here for the guys I think you should hold or sell this week. But yeah, like I said, cash cows / mid-rangers must be traded to a keeper at some point. Even if you're low on trades this week, if you're bringing in keepers, feel free to use those trades. Yeah, I just touched on that, so that makes sense, hopefully. Just don't be afraid to use them if you're trading up to a keeper. If you're going like a Tamale to, I don't know, who's a buy-round coverage winger fullback, I don't know, like Tedesco, and you don't think you don't want Tedesco by the end of the season. So if you go Tamale to Tedesco and then Tedesco to Jaden Campbell, even though Tamale you had to trade out at some point, you've actually used a trade to bring in Tedesco. So if you went straight from Tamale to Campbell, you're using one trade, which you had to use anyway to, like it's one of these non-negotiable trades. So that's totally fine. But if you've segued into a buy round player before then, like Tedesco, who you don't view as an end of season player, that is using a trade. And then, so even though you've gone Tamale to Tedesco to Jaden Campbell, and that's essentially 2 trades, you've only used one, and the Tedesco trade is the part you're using. And obviously, that's just an example. Tedesco is probably not the best example because he is a fringe keeper. But yeah, I hope that makes sense. And then how to identify when they've peaked. Most people know this to a degree. A lot of people just look at their current break-evens. I've talked about it a few times. I don't think that's the best measure. For me, the best measure is where they're priced at. So yeah, that's pretty readily available on Footy Statistics, other sites as well, like Rugby League Fantasy Pro. You can even do a conversion by dividing their price by 14,500-ish. It does vary between 14,000 and 15,000, but yeah, there's heaps of free tools that help you find that, which I'll show you in a sec, but everyone should know it pretty much. Then their current break-even, so obviously that is important. I'll show you which site has the best break-evens as well, and then their future break-even. So obviously every player has a rolling break-even, so if they scored a 70 this week, they're rolling. That is effectively in their break even for the next 3 weeks. So yeah, their future break even to me is probably more important than their current break even. Obviously, you can have false break evens for this round. I talked about it a few weeks ago with Kalen Ponga. His break even was like 75 or something. But even if he scored a 50, he was going to have like a 40 break even the week after. So he was clearly underpriced where he was. Maybe not clearly because he kept scoring 20s, but yeah, based on his reasonable projection, he was underpriced even though he was carrying a 70 break even. So yeah, they're the 3 metrics that I use to identify, especially for mid-ranges and cash cows. Then also looking at it primarily through their expected projection, not through an optimistic or pessimistic view. So someone like a Hubner, he averages 38 for the year. Let's say he has a 30 break even. I'm pretty sure it's actually close to what he has. Yeah, let's say he has a 30 break even, and yeah, he's scoring 38 for the year. So you want to look at it in a perfect world that he's going to score 38 all of those weeks. Not he might score a try, so he might get a 55 and then go back to the 38s. Like you just have to look at it realistically. As to what you think they'd expect based on how they have performed. Obviously, if their roles changing and stuff, you can make micro projections. Like, I don't know, Hosking, for example, even though he hasn't had any data this year, you can sort of project that when he's moving back into the starting role, that he's obviously not going to score how he was on the bench, but just look at historical data and stuff like that for that. But yeah, just look at their expected projection as opposed to anything else. And then monetary and scoring value lost or gained by when you trade them out. So I'll show you an example with Hubner and Kaloa Matangi here. So let's say Hubner has another 30k to make in him, but Kaloa Matangi has 50k to make in the same time. So you're not actually gaining 30k by keeping Hubner, you're losing 20k by not making the trade to Kaloa Matangi this week. And then also the points lost by not having them, assuming Kaloa Matangi is expected to score better. So yeah, we've obviously got Kaloa Matangi here and Hubner. Obviously, Kaloa Matangi doesn't have too much data at prop. He's only played the 3 games, but lock is pretty similar. And yeah, we'd expect him to score between 56 and 58 based on those 2 roles. And then Hubner, playing over 30 minutes this year, he's averaging 38 in 47 minutes. His minutes have been a little bit lower recently, but I'd expect him to get somewhere close to that, so I'm going to project him at 38 points. So we'll start with Hubner first. In the next 3 games, he's projected to score 39, like we just said. So yeah, he's expected to make 20k over that mark, which is decent. It means he hasn't peaked necessarily yet, even with a 40 break even, which is higher than his averaging, because it's a bit of a false positive because he's actually priced at 32, even though he's averaging 38.6. So yeah, he's going to score 39 and make 20k in that time, realistically. Then you see Kaloa Matangi in the same time. He's projected to make 64k. I cannot do maths right now. 64k. And Hubner was meant to make 20k. So if you made the trade, you're actually gaining 44k over the next 3 rounds. And also he's going to score 58s as opposed to 39s realistically. So you're going to gain 44 points. 44k was it? I think. Yeah, I think it was 44k. Too many numbers. And then 57 points over that time. So if you don't make that trade now, you can reasonably expect to lose out on 44k of monetary value and 57 points of value. So even though Hubner hasn't necessarily peaked, if there is a better option out there, you can make that trade pretty comfortably, knowing that like Koloamatangi is going to perform much better monetarily and scoring wise over that time. And obviously it takes an extra like 200k to get there. I understand that it's not the greatest example on earth, but it's just to try and show you it's better if you look at like 2 guys that are worth the same amount of that are currently priced at the same amount of points, because that's a more fair fight. Obviously Koloamatangi is going to come out on top there. But yeah, it's just a way to look at it. Koloamatangi is clearly underpriced and he's a keeper for the end of the season. So that trade makes perfect sense. It's one of those non-negotiable trades you're going to have to make at some stage. It doesn't have to be for Koloamatangi. It can be for any keeper. But yeah, Hubner out is a trade you're going to have to make, and you just want to identify if the person you're picking up is likely to exceed that value that Hubner offers you over the next couple of rounds. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense again. Again, any questions, just let me know. And then, yeah, this is just to wrap it up. I've got my holds or sells. This is just for this round, so this isn't their long-term projection. This is just how I view them for this week only. So I'll get into them. Feel free to take a screenshot or whatever of that list. I probably won't come back to it. I've got them all on Footy Statistics, so I'll show you from there. But yeah, that's my little table. So yeah, talked about Hubner. Funnily enough, he's actually on my holds list this week, contrary to that example I just gave. Because yeah, he's 6 points undervalued. He does have that 40 break even, so a little bit higher. And this is the most accurate break even, by the way. I know it says 34 here, but long term, historically, and this season, Rugby League Fantasy Pro has the best projections. This is a paid site, so it's like $30 a year or something. So not everyone has access to it, but pretty comfortably, you can just add about 5 to 6 on top of this break even, and you'll get to around the same mark. But yeah, I always use this site here, but if you don't have access to it, you can just use that. Yeah, so he's got a 40 break even this week. We can reasonably project him to score roughly 39 points. So he's not going to make money this week, but then his break even starts to get lower. He does have really good buy coverage as well. He does play round 15 and 18, so that makes him more of a hold. So I believe he is a hold this week. He's sort of on the fence because he doesn't have much money to make. Yeah, I think he's totally fine to hold. He's probably he is a trade at some point, obviously, like I've dedicated this video to. But yeah, you can probably get to round 15 with him. If you bring in Aitken and Koloamatangi, that's probably a lot of Rabbitohs. Doesn't matter too much because they don't have a buy until round 19, but it is something I always consider over that buy period. But yeah, he's more of a hold than a sell for me, but obviously a lot of these guys are close calls, and this is for this week only, so I would potentially hold him, but if he's the only avenue to trading it, to getting a keeper, then totally fine to sell him. Isaiah Iongi, so yeah, pretty comfortable hold. He obviously doesn't play any of the major buys anymore, but he's just got that 21 break even. He's priced at 35, so that's where he is averaging for the year. He's obviously been a little bit better lately. We were waiting for Moses to come back because it was pretty reasonable to expect that he would score better once Moses was back. And for the most part, we have seen that. I think his underlying data has always been good. His meters gained are really strong. His tackle break count is good. He shakes off a few tackles. And yeah, he's got an increased role recently. But just with that break even, again, this is for this week only, so you can easily hold for this week and hope for the best. Obviously, we're projecting he scores 35. But yeah, winger fullbacks can always score more or less than that. But yeah, we're projecting him to score 35, and he's going to make 15 or so K based on that projection. But then after that, yeah, his break even goes back to normal pretty much because he's priced at where he should be. So he's a very comfortable trade in a couple of weeks unless he scores a 60, 70 or whatever. But for this week, he's a hold for me. Who's next? Oh, of course, it's doing this little silly thing. Who was next? Let's have a look. Kartonga. So yeah, very similar boat. I know the Eels. I cannot spell. I know the Eels have just played their major bye round. So why is this so slow? What the heck? So they've just played their major bye round. They're not playing round 15 or 18. So he is a sell most likely before round 15. But yeah, he's been really good. Obviously carrying that low break even. He looks like he could potentially get to keeper level at some stage. He's still like a fraction below. Obviously 42 is not even close. But just based on what he's done recently, his role has increased. He's not going to be on the upper echelon of keepers in the centre position, or let alone edge. You've still got your Herbies, Dylan Lucas, Fermors, who are comfortably above him, and like comfortably above him. But yeah, if he starts scoring 45s to 50s every week as a floor, then yeah, it's reasonable to expect that he could be a fringe end of season guy. But for now, he's still a mid-ranger, a cash cow who's close to peaked. But for this round, with a 20 break even, he's an easy hold for at least a couple of weeks, and maybe look to reassess in round 15. Riley Smith, very similar boat. Eels just played their major bye round, but he's averaging 42, priced at 37, low break even. So yeah, he fulfills all the metrics that we're looking for to hold. What did I say, 42? Yeah. So let's say he scores 42. He's got another 2 rounds or so of decent cash rises, and then he goes back to about where his break even goes back to about where he's priced at. So yeah, again, maybe look in round 15 to trade him, but for now, he's an easy hold. They're all doing it. What is going on? Apologies for this. Hopefully it loads soon. But Robert Toya. Okay, no, Horsburgh. Well, let's go on to the sells list, hey? Horsburgh, yeah, I've got him on the sells list. It's a close one for me. I do have him. I was expecting to get rid of him last round, expecting he would make Origin. He didn't, but he's still peaked in price for me. I know he's averaging 53 for the year. He's priced at 30. He is carrying a 60 break even though. So that's a little bit higher. 63 break even. Double evens. I'm getting tired here. Apologies. Yeah, his minutes have just been a little bit lower recently. He started the season playing 50s at a minimum and then closer to the upper 50s. Yeah, he hasn't played above 55 since round 4. And yeah, like obviously he got suspended, got sin bin last week, so he might have played a couple more minutes. That was also with Hudson Young out, a weakened forward pack. So yeah, I just don't think the expected minutes are there. He's peaked in price. He's not an end of season keeper for me because we've got Cleary, May, Haas, Tarpanay, who are worlds above him, like at least 10 points above him. And then you've got so many guys around that 50 to 55 mark. So yeah, I don't see a need to keep him towards the back end of the season. He misses round 15. There are guys available who are at his level or higher, like Kaloa Matangi, who play round 15 and 18 in the same position. So yeah, for me, he's a pretty comfortable sell. You can keep him if you want. Like you're not going to lose too much. Like he's pretty much going to hover around that value. So he's not an urgent one for me, but I think with a couple of other guys like Aitken, Kalomatangi underpriced, then I think it's a really good week to get rid of him and make a bit of money on those other guys. Okay, now we're back to the regularly scheduled program with the holds. Robert Toya. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable to hold him this week. I am of the belief he doesn't make Origin in game 2 or 3. There's a big chance he does. If Queensland win, I think that chance gets elevated. They did have 2 injuries to get him in that spot, but he did get there over a Purdue Gagai. So yeah, I think he won that spot, which is fair enough. But he's also only played 11 games in the NRL. So I don't know if that spot's a bit of a hot seat, but I'm not actually concerned if he does or doesn't play Origin. For me, he backs up this round almost certainly, unless he gets injured. And he's got that low break even. So yeah, that's really good, obviously. I think it's like 20. So he's averaging 40 for the year. So yeah, he's got another 20K in him next week, which he's averaging 44 even. So 20 to 25K this week alone. And then he has the buy in round 14, which to me is actually a positive. The only team with a buy that round is the Roosters. So there's not many loop options available. So you've pretty much only got Toya or Savala as your loop options, unless you have like a Wong, Nafahu White and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's really valuable keeping those Roosters in round 14 because chances are you're going to gain points by having those loop options available, especially in centre when we have quite a few fringe guys like Kartonga, and then like he could easily come out and score 30, and then he can easily come out and score 60. So you want that loop option available. So yeah, to me, he's really valuable in round 14. He should play in round 13, and then we'll know if he's making Origin or not in round 15. So if he misses Origin, then he's a number for round 15. If he makes it, then he's a pretty clear trade then for me. So yeah, to me, the only reasonable thing to do with him this week is to hold. Although there's a chance I might sell him because I can get Jaden Campbell if I do. So I'm going against my own advice there, but yeah, he's a pretty clear hold to me. Hugo Savala, similar reason. He's obviously got a low break even as well. He should make a bit more money than Toya as well. But also, yeah, loop option in round 14, plays round 15. I don't know if we get to round 18 with him, but he does have the buy in round 17 as well, so valuable there. So ideally, we'll keep him to round 18, but he is very hot or cold. He's just got a ton of money to make still, averaging 42. Like we've got close to 100K in him. So yeah, pretty comfortable hold. Probably the most comfortable hold out of all of these guys. King Tonga, I've heard a few people selling him. Surprisingly, I'm not of that belief, even though I never liked him as an option to begin with. I was pretty firm in my stance that I didn't think he was a good option. So before his round 9 game, I said he's a wait and see because I don't think those kick meters will be strong. I think Kyle Flanagan picks up the majority of them, which he did. He came out and scored a 47, but I saw what I needed to see. Low tackle count, a couple of missed tackles, not many meters gained, kick meters. So yeah, he was pretty much an attacking half who had one of his best games, most likely, to score a 47. And then, so I still didn't recommend him then. And he hasn't lit the world on fire after that. But he's still got a low break even, which is pretty much the only thing that matters right now. He's an attacking half, so he is going to be rocks and diamonds. But his floor is kind of that 15 to 20 range, so you're not going to lose money having him. And he could easily come out and score a 50 at some stage. But for now, we're projecting at 31. So, wrong number. For now he's scoring 31s. So, you still have another 40K in him, and he plays round 15 and 18. So, pretty clear hold to me, even though I never liked him as an option. So, it probably shows I'm not biased in my thoughts there. Jackson Purdue, he's essentially peaked. I don't know how 5'8" serves him. He's sort of similar to those King Tonga types. Obviously, he's a lot more developed in his game and has a lot more NRL under his belt, but those attacking halves don't always seem to do too well. Sharp, probably the exception. Maybe like a Dylan Brown, but we've even seen him decline a little bit this year. I think he's a pretty reasonable sell. High break even, priced at 40, which is where he averages for the season. So I'd probably sell him even with the favourable buy schedule. Halasima, I won't talk about too much. He's on the bench, so I think he's a sell as well. I think, you can reasonably expect him. Like he's averaging 35 in those minutes, like 40 to 70 minutes. So I don't know what his role is. He might end up starting in the hour before kickoffs, but it's a bit too risky for mine. He's priced at 37, has a break even, very similar, so he's a sell for mine. Siwa Wong, he's a hold, I believe. I had him. He's a hold. He's priced at 45, averaging 50 for the year. Massively favourable buy schedule. I think is a pretty comfortable hold, even though he has been a bit lacklustre lately. But still, he's scoring like 44 at a minimum, which is where he's priced at and has such good buys. Again, he has the buys in 14 and 17, which is good loop options, and then plays the major buy rounds. Pretty comfortable hold for me. And then Tommy Jenkins, named on the wing this week, priced at 37, scoring at 37, but priced at 34. I've said sell. He's pretty much peaked, even with a low break even. You can probably wait a week. I hate Casey McLean being in the centres with him because he just doesn't get the ball. You can probably wait this week if you wanted to because you can reasonably expect him to hit his break even. But just without playing in the buy rounds, if he's the only option you can use to get to those keepers, then yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with you selling him. But that's it for that video. Hopefully that made a lot of sense to you. If not, apologies. But yeah, leave any comments in the section below. I know you guys like the niche videos, so hopefully you enjoyed that one. But yeah, we'll see you next time, guys.